جمهورية مصر العربية. من الجانب التونسي السيد سمير سعيد وزير الاقتصاد والتخطيط. من الجانب المصري دكتورة رانيا المشاط وزيرة التعاون الدولي. فليتفضلا. الاتفاقية الثانية مذكرة تفاهم بين حكومة الجمهورية التونسية وحكومة جمهورية مصر العربية في مجال الاشتراك في المعارض والأسواق الدولية. من الجانب التونسي السيدة فضيلة الرابحي بن حمزة وزيرة التجارة وتنمية الصادرات. من الجانب المصري الدكتورة رانيا المشاط وزيرة التعاون الدولي. فلتتفضل.
Minister Rania al-Nashat, the Minister of International Cooperation.
الاتفاقية الثالثة مذكرة تفاهم وبرنامجها التنفيذي بين مركز النهوض بالصادرات بالجمهورية التونسية وهيئة تنمية الصادرات
and the Exploitation Development Authority from Egyptian side. From Tunisia, Mrs. Fadila bin Halfad, Minister of Trade and Exploitation Development, and from Egyptian part, the Minister Rania al-Mashat, Minister of International Cooperation.
الاتفاقية الرابعة
Foreign agreement, the fourth one, of an understanding of the agricultural cooperation between Egypt and Tunisia. From Tunisian part, Mr. Mahmoud Hamza, Minister of the Water Resources and Maritime Fishing, and from Egyptian side, Mr. Mohammed Al-Qusayed, the Minister of Agriculture and Reclamation of Agriculture.
الوثيقة الخامسة اتفاقية إطارية للتعاون
a framework agreement in cooperation of the higher education and the scientific research between Tunisia and Egypt, and from the Tunisian side, Mr. Boucher, the Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research, and from Egypt's part, Dr. Khalid Abdel Ghaffar, the Minister of Higher Education and the Scientific Research. And the sixth agreement, memorandum of understanding between Egypt and Tunisia in the field of the IT, as well as the posting from Tunisian side, the Minister of IT, and from Egypt side, Dr. Amr Tala, the Minister of Communications and IT.
الاتفاقية السابعة
Agreement of number 7, MOU of the cooperation in the field of climate change and between the Egyptian side and the Tunisian side, Mr. Rabia, the Minister of Transportation, and from Egypt side, Minister Rania Mashat, Minister of Investment and International Cooperation. Its agreement, MOU, on the mutual cooperation between Tunisia and Egypt in the field of women, family and the senior citizens, from Madbouly, the Minister of Family and the senior citizen, and from Egypt's side, the Minister Rania Mashat, the Minister of International Cooperation. Agreement number 9, MOU between the Minister of Housing of Tunisia and the Minister of the Urban Community and the Housing of the Arab Republic of Egypt in the field of construction, and from Sarah Zafarin from the Tunisian part, and from Egypt's side, Dr. Asim Al-Ghazar, the Minister of Housing and the Urban Communities. Agreement number 10, MOU between the Foreign Investment of Tunisia and the General Authority of Investment of Egypt. From Tunisian side, Mr. Abdel Basit, General Director of the foreign investment, and from Egypt side, the Councillor Mohammed Abdel Wahab, the executive CEO of the Free Zones and Investments. Agreement number 11, MOU to establish and activation the exchange of information between Tunisian part and the General Authority of Financial Monitoring of Egypt from Tunisian part, Said Saleh Said, and from Egypt's side, Dr. Mohamed Amran, the Minister of the General Authority of the Financial Monitoring. Finally, to sign on the agenda of the 17 editions of the Giant Tunisian Egypt Committee from Tunisian part, Najla Ben Ramadan, the Minister of the Premier of Tunisia, and from Egypt's side, Mr. Premier Dr. Mustafa Madbouly, the Premier of the Arab Republic of Egypt. Now is the press point. Thanks very much. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, and peace and prayers upon the last messenger, Your Excellency, Mr. President, Dr. Mustafa Madbouly, the Mr. Premier of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I retreat to welcome my brother, His Excellency, Mr. Dr. Mustafa Madbouly, the Prime Minister of the Arab Republic of Egypt, and the members of the accompanying delegation in their country, in Tunisia. And I wish that they have enjoyed their residence as brothers for us. I extend my thanks to the members of the two delegations of Egypt and Tunisia who exerted all efforts during the preparation of this edition and throughout the convene for the sake of its success. And I would like to extend my deepest satisfaction of the friendly atmosphere of the Egyptian, Tunisian giant community convened the last 2 days, preceded by preparatory meetings of higher levels between the 19th and the 20th of this year. And the outcome of the Egyptian-Tunisian economic gathering that pleases me to prepare its convened with my brothers, Dr. Mustafa Madbouly, and I affirm the private sector role to enhance the partnership of the entrepreneurs between the two countries into the joint and concern horizons, in particular in Africa. And we've tackled the distinguished relationships between Egypt and Tunisia that witnessed a quantitative leap following the official visit made by Mr. President Kais Saied to Egypt in April 2021 that give the bilateral relationships a positive momentum that return to its normal presence that affirmed the keenness of Egypt to more fostering of such relations to the higher levels to go in line with what provided between and of potentials between the two countries in all arenas, as we agreed upon on the importance of returning the path and the pattern of the cooperation mechanism and the good preparation for the following events that were postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, to exchange the visits and the delegations between the two countries. I wish to reaffirm and reiterate the thanks and appreciation of our country and to appreciate the Egypt's role and its solidarity for our country and its support that provided to stand up and support our efforts to combat and confront the pandemic of the COVID-19, as well as the joint coordination, continued communication between the two leaders of the two countries, and we look forward to regain such type of visits in particular in the light of the world variable as well as the regional challenges presented before the two countries. And allow me to explore now what we have reached of the outcomes and resolutions of the preparatory meetings on the two levels, the ministerial and the higher officials, in which the adoption to the final formula of the joint committee, as well as the agreement to sign the 11th agreement that included the field of international cooperation, investment, exportation, participation of international exhibitions, fiscal and financial control, higher education, housing and weather services and climate, as well as communication, posting, women and families, as well as the senior citizens. And I look forward that such an event is an occasion to foster the fields of cooperation and to raise it up to the higher levels provided of the two countries in order that the relation to reach the presence of partnership and integration. In such the bilateral meetings represented between the ministers of the two countries by asserting the importance of pushing and moving forward of such relationship, and also would like to praise the cultural movement and the pattern of exchanging visits in the field of culture between Egypt and Tunisia of 21 and 22 that witnessed a cultural momentum in the field of culture and creation as an evidence of the importance of the cultural and civilized heritage of the two brotherly peoples by asserting the maintain such a pattern in cultural exchange of the upcoming years. God willing, the following year will be the year of cooperation and the economic cooperation, through which you've also affirmed through the talks of the Egyptian, by the Egyptian side on the importance of the Egyptian market to our country by asserting our keenness to facilitate and overcome all difficulties that hinder the trade cooperation, as well as the facilitation of entering goods in order to achieve the full interest of the two countries, as well as fostering the economic cooperation between the two countries. As also we affirmed the importance of the private sector in the field of investment and economy, that we all rely on to be a great momentum toward the cooperation of investment and creating opportunities of the two countries by which to the opening of promising sectors. We've also affirmed and asserted that the current situation of the world crisis caused by the Ukrainian and Russian war and the joint challenges to provide our resources from the person and its types in order to benefit the expertise of the two countries, such as exploring new markets and the process of hosting such types in order to maintain the food security. We've also witnessed the full satisfaction of the consensus point of views of the two sides towards the regional and international issues, and affirmed to foster to exchange the point of views that contributed to coordinate the stances between the two countries. And thanks for listening, and peace be upon you all. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, my dear Ma'am Prime Minister Nagla Putin, the Prime Minister of Tunisian government, Your Excellencies, Ministers of the two countries, ladies and gentlemen, peace be upon you all. Allow me, in the context of my intervention, not to repeat all the details mentioned by Ma'am Prime Minister of Tunisia during such a historical visit, and it's a turning point to deepen and increase in the communications and relationships of the two countries in all arenas. Allow me in the outset honored personally to meet His Excellency Mr. President Qais Said, and I conveyed the greeting to his brother, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, to Tunisia leaders as represented in leadership and its people, as well as the full support to Tunisia to overcome and cross the road towards prosperity and stability, and the full entrust headed and presided by His Excellency Mr. Qais Said to fulfill the aspirations of the Tunisian people. In fact, the relationship between Egypt and Tunisia is witnessing an agreed quantum leap started on the historical visit by Mr. President Qais Said in April 2021 that resulted the fostering the level of consultation and resulted in the convene of the 17th edition of the Joint Committee of Egypt and Tunisia. In fact, there was an great opportunities of deliberation and consultation between Egypt and Tunisia, and I had a great opportunity to praise the president of the cultural on 2021-2022, taking into consideration its positive impact in fostering the bonds of our two peoples, given the fact that the relation of the cultural cooperation, God willing, will continue following this year. On the economic level, we've agreed upon to mark 2022-23 to be a year of cooperation in economics between Tunisia and Egypt, targeting to increase the volume of investment and trade exchange between us, as well as holding an economic joint economic conference to overcome all the obstacles of the investment, and we've agreed upon yesterday to take immediate steps to be taken throughout the upcoming days and fostering the cooperation in the field of transportation and logistics, and the participation of the private sector to establishing a line between Egypt and Tunisia. In fact, what we've witnessed by signing several of MOU in cooperation in different fields such as education, IT, investment, financial control, all these agreements I'll follow it's to be effective and translated on the ground along with my brother Prime Minister to be laid up in a road map. Regarding the regional issues, we've already exchanged ideas of the Palestinian cause toward achieving the legitimate right of the Palestinian people. With regard to the Libyan crisis, we support the solid principles of the Libyan dialogue without any foreign intervention. Is the only solution towards presidential and parliamentary elections. There is a strong stance that to respect the national constitution and disarm and dismantle the militias, and in order to reach the comprehensive solution of the Libyan crisis, and affirming the exiting of the foreign militias, as well as to execute the outcomes of Paris and Berlin conventions. We also affirmed the Tunisian stance announced by His Excellency Mr. President Qais Said supporting Egypt and the water support security, and urging to comply the conventions within the international framework, including the principles agreement signed in 2015. Also, we've already discussed the coming preparation to host in Egypt COP 2017, as well as the effort exerted by Egypt to come up to contribute to the execution of Paris Agreement in the climate change. In fact, there is a consensus in the field of the green economy and the renewable energy, as well as the green hydrogen products, that we have good potentials to go from which. Finally, with regard to the preparations of hosting the upcoming meeting, I've already praised the effort of Tunisia of the upcoming meeting in Tunisia, and our support to Tunisia to make the 18th edition of the Francophone Summit to be convened in November 2022. To conclude, Madam Prime Minister, I would like to thank you for the good hospitality and the kind reception, and I wish all the best of luck and stability and prosperity to our brotherly Tunisia. Thank you.